Welcome back to Belfield on Broadway. It's always nice to see a great show that's done well and a traditional show that's brought back and wows audiences. And last night I got to see the tremendous West Side Story at the Palace, and we've got the big star, Matthew Hydzik. Nice to talk to you.
Hey, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And another big star, John Arthur Greene. Double-barreled name. I'm liking that.
Yeah, it's a Southern double name.
Does that mean you're very posh and important?
To some people I am. My mother especially.
I just want to firstly congratulate you both on this show. Last night was just an average Thursday night on Broadway, nobody special in the audience, and you gave it 100%. Matthew, you've got the lead role as Tony, and it's not the easiest gig in the world because it's kind of subtle and passionate, and you've got to turn it on every single night. How drained are you at the end of it?
Oh, really drained. Sometimes it's hard to get out of it, and you just sort of have to make yourself laugh or anything like that. Sometimes just having a shot afterwards or having a beer and hanging out with my friends really, really helps. But it's tough to shake. But getting into it's not really that difficult because this is a show where the music is so epic and the storyline is, well, classic, of course, set on Romeo and Juliet. But also, like this guy sitting next to me, and some of the other great actors too, including Maria and Anita. They just sort of just thrust you into it. It's just you're just basically slapped in the face with good actors, and it makes you step up to the gate, I guess.
I think we've got to admit this is the second most depressing story after Les Miserables, John. I mean, this is not a show where you're going to come out singing and dancing and saying this is a wonderful thing. The only optimism in it is the way it's staged and the dancing and the passion, because without that, it really would be depressing, wouldn't it?
Arthur Lawrence once said to me, "You can get away with murder as long as you have passion." And for a 92-year-old man to step up and say that to you, you listen. This show holds a very sentimental element to everyone, I think, old, young. It's a timeless classic, and it really can play to any audience, any race, any creed, any denomination of religion, anything. Anybody can enjoy this show because it is timeless, and I think that's why I continue to keep doing it.
And you've been doing it like 4 years now, haven't you?
Just about 4 years.
That's pathetic. Can't you get another gig somewhere?
I've been trying, man. I've been working on it, but it just doesn't seem to come. No, West Side's kind of just fallen into my lap, and it's a show that I've grown up with. I've become a man doing this show.
I need to talk to you about this, Matthew, because I watched it last night, and frankly, I came away feeling very inadequate because the lady falls for you, and you're very manly, and you've got the great voice, and here's me, deeply unattractive, and really never experiencing anything you go through in this play. Not so good, really.
So what's the question?
Well, no, I just wanted to tell you. There's no question. What I'm trying to tell you about this is that you fall in love every night, and that's not easy to do. How do you keep it fresh and manage to make me believe that you really are into her every single night, 8 times a week?
Well, it starts with the person opposite of you, and if basically every night I come to the theater, I get ready, and I look at Hosa. I try to see her before the show, honestly, and we have I give her a little present usually every day. This is not sexual, I promise you. But every day, I honestly try to look at her and find another thing that I love about her. It could be the way she looks, the way she talks, her horrible English, the way she wraps up her feet because her shoes are killing her. Anything, I try to find a different thing, and then when I see her for the first time, strange enough, every night, I focus on that. But usually it's just always her eyes. She's just gorgeous, and she basically punches you with a kiss. So.
She is delicious, and there's no doubting that. We couldn't talk to her on the programme because she's not good enough to do an interview in terms of her English, because they literally searched the world for the best Maria, and they found her, didn't they? Yes.
This is a funny story. Actually, I was there at her audition, her first and only audition for Maria. It was one of the situations where someone walks into the room, and I happen to be behind the table with the director, the assistant director, and the producers and the music director, and she walked in the room, and it was in this white dress. And I looked down the aisle of all these men, and I looked back at her, and I said, Jesus, she's got it. If she can fall on a note and put one leg in front of the other, then she's got this role. Then she opened up her mouth, and she has this beautiful operatic voice. And look, all these are more reasons why it's easy to fall in love with her every night.
And as for the music itself, the good thing is we know almost every song in this show. What's your favourite?
It'd have to be Cool. It's the number that is between Riff and the gang, and I get to suppress the rage of my boys who are ready to fight and kill anybody that I tell them to, and we've got to keep that suppressed and keep that down, and keep that rage intact, but so that nobody becomes a loose cannon and actually kills somebody.
All right, we'll come back next with the stars of West Side Story. We're back with the stars of West Side Story. We've got Matthew and John talking about their lives and career now. Let's start with you then, because you've been with this, John, for 4 years, and you've toured the world with it.
I have. I've been very lucky, and I wouldn't trade anything, to be doing this show on tour and this show on Broadway and being able to represent West Side Story in whichever way I can possible.
And tell us some of the countries you've been to.
I was in Germany, I was in London, at the Sadler's Wells on the West End. I was in Paris, I was in Greece, they were in La Scala. But this tour has been everywhere. It's been to Japan, it's been to Egypt. It's a very big tour.
And Matthew, you weren't good enough to go on tour?
I was actually not gonna. I never auditioned for the tour. I would have loved to go on tour because I actually have never been to Europe. I've been all over Asia and all over the States, Canada, Central America, but I have not yet been to Europe. So I wish I could have done that. I was actually working on another show at that point.
Knocking it out of the park every night can't be easy because, let's face it, it's the same show, and this is particularly high energy. There's a lot of dance routines that are just relentless. How physically fit do you have to be to get on stage every night?
John's a better person to ask about this because he actually dances his ass off every night. Is
that a technical term?
Technically speaking, yes. He dances his hiney off. And,
so let's ask you then, how is it to get through the show?
Wow. It's a beast. It's a workout, it really is challenging, and it's not only physically challenging, it's emotionally and spiritually challenging. I mean, sometimes we pray that we get through this show, and all of us cross-train, as I call it. See, I'm not the most technical dancer that there is, so I have to do other things to keep my body in check. See, I'm a sports guy. I used to play baseball, hockey, lacrosse, all of it, and now I find myself rock climbing and doing parkour, which is free running, and doing all these other different things to keep my legs intact so that when I come to the dance and have to present the dance, I can do it in the best way that I can.
But he really knocks it out of the park, and I take my hat off to every single one of the dancers, especially John, because everybody in the show, honestly, is injured. They're injured always. They're always performing on some sort of injury, whether it be a sprain, whether it just be a bad bruise, a hairline fracture, cracked ribs, just basically bloodied and bruised, but they keep pushing forward until, they fall to pieces and then just shove them off stage, I guess.
Well, it's a mentality, too. I mean, with this show, you can get away with screaming in the middle of a number. You just can. Jerome Robbins choreographed it for the Jets brilliantly. And Peter Gennaro, who choreographed for the Sharks, did his job to a T, And so these choreographers made it possible for the acting to come to fruition and to come to the front and be the main thing that, puts us into this magical world of theater. This world where we can come and find something new and be something different for just an hour and a half, 2.5 hours, 20 minutes. It doesn't matter. If I can take somebody out of their world and bring them into mine, then I've done my job. And, this guy singing Maria every night is something just to die for.
Yes, he gives me notes every night, though.
Yeah, well, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's a critic, aren't they?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to come back next and ask you, what does it feel like when you're stood centre stage with that pin focus right on you and you have to sing this number? We're back on Belfield on Broadway talking to the two stars of West Side Story, who both in their own right, in very different ways, steal the show. Vocally, there's no question you steal the show because you've got the big numbers. You are the star of it that everybody has to fall in love with, whether they be man, woman or whatever, because you've got to get the girl. When it's all on you and the song we just heard or any of your big numbers, and you know that if for the next 3 minutes you don't perform, we're going to notice, how do you handle that pressure?
It's funny. I think the pressure sort of gets left before the show starts. There's something calming about being on the Palace stage performing this number. one end, at one hand, it's so much bigger than you, and it can be very intimidating. Like, how can I rise to this occasion to support a beautiful score and a written vocal line? And then on the other hand, it's incredibly empowering because you get on stage and you're like, well, I have one of the greatest scores ever, and I have an amazing 30-piece orchestra, and I have some of the best words written for a musical underneath me, and libretto. So how can I really it up? How can I really mess it up? You can mess it up, but I think if you focus on the fact that, well, I have all these things that are supporting me, all I got to do is just basically put myself into it, do my best. And sometimes, you mentioned earlier, you have to knock it out of the park every night. Sometimes you don't knock it out of the park, but if you're really, really, really focused on trying to hit that ball out of the park, it doesn't matter if it goes all the way out or if it just goes to right center. If you're really working, people will go along with the ride. They will just go along with the ride.
Were you born singing? Because there's such a natural tone to your voice and a warmth to it. I can't imagine you can be trained to sing like that.
Well, I'm Welsh, so we're supposed to be the singing people.
Well, there's you, Tom Jones, and Shirley Bassey, isn't there?
Yeah. I'm a little taller than Tommy Jones. I'd love to meet him, though. And I grew up singing in my family. I started studying formally in college, so that's when I was 18. But I was always singing. My dad played guitar, my mom played piano, my brother played guitar and piano as well, and I did neither of those. I'm learning how to play guitar now, so I always just sang, probably because it was the easiest thing to do.
Still giving it notes on guitar.
So it was growing up in a family of music, so that really helped and informed me, before I started studying. Sometimes people who everybody has a different journey, but I find sometimes people who start with a very rigid core of training have a hard time breaking out into different styles,
And of course, we're here right in the centre of Broadway in Times Square, and there's a McDonald's on every corner. You have to be delicious. You can't be a clinically obese Tony. How do you handle that?
You know what's funny? I cook a lot at home now since I took over this role, and it's insane. You actually you lose weight and you just feel a whole lot better about yourself, and you stay in shape if you just cook for yourself instead of going out. And it's no real big secret. I just sort of came from necessity. I don't like leaving the house much before I do the show because you just try to stay rested. A lot of sleep.
So I'm aggravating you already then?
I fell asleep a while ago.
Let's talk about your favourite song in the show, or which one do you look forward to? Which one is the song that you enjoy singing?
Tonight. Maria, sometimes we were talking about if it is the intimidating, daunting factor. Maria is so much fun to do, but honestly, once you get through it, you feel like Hercules. You feel like He-Man. You just because you made it through that song, and then immediately after that, you go directly into Tonight, and some of the pressure is off because you have a beautiful leading lady with an amazing voice, who you're pairing with. So it's like that final hurdle, and then I can get to her. So Tonight is definitely my favorite.
This is the epitome of two Broadway voices. Matthew Hydzik is Tony in West Side Story. Next we'll talk to John Arthur Greene about the physicality of the show and the dancing in it and how long it takes to learn the routines. We're back with our remaining moments with the two stars of West Side Story, finding out about these dance routines, because I watched it last night and they're so complicated and inspiring to watch, but they must be difficult to learn, John. How do you do that?
They're very difficult to learn. We have a great team of people behind us. Matt was mentioning earlier about, any role can become easier to do if you have a great cast and a great group of people behind you supporting, picking up the slack, and, really moving you forward. And our choreographers and our assistant choreographers and our, associate directors and our directors and our production staff, everybody on the production staff makes our life easier. So to dance this role technically is a pain in the butt, as Matt said earlier, but I'm putting it more gently. But to learn it and to do it are two different things, and the acting ability that comes after you learn it. They break it down very easily. We do the steps, and then we put the intention behind the steps, and then we put it on its feet. It's a big challenge, but it's a hurdle that all of us are willing to accept.
I'm sorry, I'm asking. I don't even know. How long did it take you to learn the choreography initially?
For me, it took I had 2 weeks to learn it. The entire show, I had 2 weeks to learn. And one week we did choreography, and 1 week we did the scenes. We blocked the scenes. And the next week, we put everything on its feet. So we had a 3-week rehearsal period, not for the Broadway show, but for the first time that I learned this choreography. We had a 3-week rehearsal process to put the show on its feet, get it done, and to tech it, and before we put it on,
Matthew, I'm actually thinking you're quite pathetic. All you've got to do is sing and act. He's got to do the hard work, really.
I got the easiest job, man. I just stand back and laugh at these guys.
You really ought to be working for NASA or something. You're too bright to be in a musical.
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but, I am working on Broadway.
Congratulations to both of you. I think this is a tremendous show. It's one of the best I've seen this year, and in a long time, really. The energy you give is so inspiring because it's so easy to just turn up and take your money, but they don't seem to do that as much on Broadway as they do in the West End. Is that because too many people are watching and there's too many people wanting your gig?
I think that it has nothing to do with that, ultimately. I ultimately think that we love what we do, and we show up because we care. And it's that simple. We show up because we care. We care about our job. We care about changing the world. Even if it's in our piece of the world, we just want to change it. We want something to be better.
This show is tremendous. It's on at the Palace. Matthew, thank you so much for talking to me. You're a true star and a God-given talent. And for you, physically dancing, well, it's just your thing. And I'm still deciding who's the best out of you. I can't decide.
I don't think there's any question. I think it's both of us. I think I'll take him. I'll claim him.
Let's hit the dance floor. Let's go to the disco.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.